Hey, deserving listeners, I thought I would watch various different post-Love is Blind season things, and I have already watched this interview with Monica in which she talks about her experience and about Steven, and I am going back in time and recording an intro. The whole episode, me reacting, will be for members of the YouTube channel, but I'll post a little bit of the reaction video for everyone. And I want to give a heavy trigger warning because we get into a lot of talk about sexual assault and abuse. But anyway, let's watch Monica's interview on the Nick Vile podcast. It's interesting.
Hey guys, we're making you all fall cookies and we're going to bring them by later. Like we're going to text when we're ready to drop them off. And so Steven and I were hanging out in the apartment, having a great time, laughing, there were no cameras. We were just having a great time. And he stepped into the bathroom. And as he did, his phone went off and he got a text that we were waiting for. And it was from Garrett. And I said, oh, babe, Garrett just texted. I'm, going to...
Yeah, this is what my contact said, which is that he had his phone out because they were waiting for a text from Garrett and Taylor about cookies, and then he left the room and there was a text, and so Monica picks it up thinking, okay, let's respond, and then that's when she came across the text.
And it's about the cookies, and I went to go click the message, and next thing you know, I'm in his text and I see a girl's name, and I almost was like, this was something I was not expecting from this person really at all, and some people might think that that's crazy, but there was a second there that I literally remember thinking, should I click on this? No, don't be crazy.
That's a funny way of putting it. Yeah, so she's acknowledging that now, and in the moment, she's thinking, well, this is a privacy violation, so I'm not going to be that way, but maybe I should. And if you find something like that, then does it justify the previous act of privacy violation? We can debate that, but at the very least, it's a good thing she found out, right? And she didn't have to give this detail. You can imagine other cast members not mentioning this part of it, right? Steven included. So this boosts her trustworthiness. She's admitting that.
It was just so, I was so taken aback. I couldn't breathe. That even right after it all went down, I didn't even remember the girl's name, truly. I do remember seeing really kinky, dirty talk. One specific message was just talking about how he's never been able to find someone who satisfies his kinks the way that she does. They were like, and I'm not kink shaming. I've been accused of kink shaming.
Yeah, wow. What she's saying is that from her memory, there was a text, and this is a year later, so take that into consideration. But, it's easier to believe Monica's memory than Steven's statements. But she's saying that one of the communications from him was, no one's been able to satisfy my kinks like you. So that does not seemingly align with Steven's claim at the reunion, which is not a surprise. From the sound of it, they had an ongoing relationship at some point, or they had an ongoing relationship, a friendship, and as a part of that, there was a past or something regarding sex, and that they had been together physically, which would make a lot more sense given what even Steven said, right? Because I was like, it just doesn't add up that a random person that you've never met in person randomly texts you while you're at the sleep study that they have something have to do with their heart, and then they just start volunteering kink stuff, and you're just like, I don't know, what am I gonna say to that? So of course I said, what do you mean by that? I'm just a victim here. So yeah, what Monica is saying makes a lot. It would be bizarre if even half of what Steven was claiming was true.
Already, I just didn't know that this was the person I was, that I was sharing a bed with by any means.
Yeah,
so.
It's not kink shaming. He's just he was hiding it from you. I don't know if you saw this, but I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes ago, it seems like Steven
And by the way, I am so happy that the discourse, at least the stuff that I've seen, is not only not kink shaming, but it's explicitly not kink shaming. That is a big difference than even just a few years ago. And I attribute this to people in my field and in the field of sexology and sex education, and a lot of other people will, and sex positivity, will have been working really hard and really against the grain to destigmatize kink and sex in general. I applaud all of that work. I often will highlight this sort of thing because society doesn't just naturally change. It changes because of the bravery of advocates, people who stick their neck out and get punished so that we can stand on the shoulders of giants. And if we're going to move forward, then we have to have more people doing that about all the various things we need to progress on. And I want to point out that, because I'm old, so I see these changes, that when we actually put our mind to it, things do change, which not a lot of people trust.
Move on.
I will say that if you see me starting to get the ick, that was not the first or last time I heard little comments like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It seemed like he was trying to almost breadcrumb you into revealing his kinks,
It looks like what she's saying is that at that moment, and there was at least a moment before that, where it felt like he was, I've been using the word insert, I guess with a double entendre to some extent, of him invasively and forcefully and bordering on the edge of non-consensually talking about things, at the very least as a way of enacting harm sexually to others, either for his own desire, his own sexual sadism desire, which is out there, but meaning that the individual actually takes pleasure in other people being uncomfortable or hurt in a sexual way. People like that exist. They're rare, but they exist, unfortunately. Or if it has to do with reenacting something that happened to him, and he isn't naturally sadistic, it's more of a replaying of an old tape, trying to get some kind of power back, or some sort of script that gets played because that's what was modeled to him, or some kind of association. Well, this is what you're supposed to do because that's what was done to me. I don't know, but that would be more likely. The way people will reenact the sexual harm and sadism that they went through. Anyway, because I think I mentioned it at the moment. I'm like, are we watching somebody actually insert sexuality in a non-consensual way? I mean, Taylor is sitting right there. What are you doing? Certainly the effect is that of discomfort and feeling like, ooh, what is happening? And the other thing I'll say is that for people who assault others sexually, which I don't know if he has or would, there's no evidence of that, but I don't know if given what we saw, it seems like a greater risk. But for people that do that, they will groom people by going down a road, and they want to eventually get to a place, but they don't, once they learn, they don't jump to that goal. They will slowly go down the road. And one of the things that they will do is they will start to inappropriately insert sexual comments or material, because what often happens is that it can be an effective way, and there's a number of different mechanisms that are that this is a part of. One is that for the perpetrator, they get to test the waters. Where's the line? Where's the boundary? I want to go down this road as fast as I can. What am I going to get pushback on? Maybe I'll get pushback on this one thing, but if I don't, then I can go further and then I'll get pushback. But the other element, whether they know it or not, the perpetrator, is that it's like the idiom of turning up the heat on the boiling water with a frog. Apparently, as apocryphal, frogs will jump out once it gets too hot, but the metaphor still stands that if we call it creeping normalcy, is one term in which you habituate the target, the victim, to a little bit of discomfort, and then you repeat that, and eventually it just becomes normal. And the victim, or the intended victim, no longer notices it very well, might not even notice it at all. And then you go further down the road. Whereas if you leapfrog 3 different steps, then the victim will know what's happening and then they'll walk away. But if you just slowly, and that's what they do. And it's insidious and it's horrific. And if you've been through it, which I'm guessing some of you had, I'm so sorry. I hope that you have healed. You deserve healing. You deserve love. You deserve safety. You did not deserve that. You just did not deserve to be harmed in that way. And when you're harmed in that way, it's doubly traumatic because not only were you assaulted, but you were also tricked. You were, it's one thing for someone to have a sudden impulse to harm you. That's horrible. The harm still happens. But it's another thing to walk back in history and go, wait, so this person has been planning this whole time? I mean, that really messes with your head of, can I trust anyone? Can I trust myself? What is happening? Is everyone? Because that means that at any moment, someone could be manipulating you to gaslight you or to trick you to creeping normalcy you into being a victim. And it's incredibly scary. You deserve to heal from that, and you deserve to know that that was wrong, and you didn't do anything wrong. They were 100% wrong. You were 0% wrong. There's nothing shameful about being a victim. It doesn't mean you're weak. It doesn't mean that you asked for it. Nothing justifies being treated that way. So it sounds like what she's saying. I mean, she's not saying that, but I wonder if she's giving us a little data. Because that was the question that I had, was how is Monica receiving all this talk about sex? She, on the edit, looked like she was into it during when their relationship was going well. I'm wondering if Nick Vile is going to ask her about her reaction to the fireworks situation, when she was being really sarcastic. And, both things can be true. Stephen can be a total dirtbag and potentially, I won't say the word, but, he could potentially be a major problem to society. And Monica, by comparison, could have a fairly minor issue when it comes to communicating her hurt feelings in a sarcastic way.
Yeah.
Like,
I
do you like
agree.
it? Pegging? What? Huh? Who said that? Huh?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, like what was going through your mind while you're just trying to get a foot rub and he's over here throwing out pegging and fetishes and you're just like saying like you could do whatever you want to him whenever you want, like, and you're just sitting here being like, I'm good. Like what?
Oh my! This just occurred to me. We could take him at his word that he does have that kink or that preference of being dominated, but there's another possibility given the entirety of the data that he was actually wanting to set up an expectation that that's what we can do as a couple. And he would set it up so that he ends up being a piece of meat. And then he's like, okay, now it's your turn. And that's really what he wants to do. I mean, that's really speculative and horrific to think about, but it wouldn't be the first time that it happened. The other possibility, of course, is if he had been harmed sexually and treated like a piece of meat, then he might actually be acting that out either as a way of healing or gaining control or recreating and re-traumatizing himself. I don't know. There's just no data along those lines. But if he were a client, these would be things that I would be wondering about. I don't know if I would ask about right away. It depends on the situation. All right. Well, the rest of this video will be just for members of the YouTube channel. So if you want to see this, become a member. Otherwise, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.